Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It is Thursday, April 30th, 9:17 a.m. on the East Coast. And we're going to talk about the paradigm shift that is occurring in the Middle East, especially shown by the first crack in the wall, which is the UAE leaving OPEC, and why the UAE's strategic shift could shape or reshape the way the world energy is looked at. So let's talk about that. So basically, for decades, the Middle East operated on assumptions that the world treated almost like laws of nature. OPEC managed oil discipline. Saudi Arabia was seen as the unquestioned heavyweight in Arab energy politics. The United States Navy guaranteed maritime security from the Strait of Suez to the Bab el Mandeb, and the Gulf monarchies largely moved in strategic alignment. But what do we do if that era is quietly ending? What if one of the region's most dynamic states, which is the United Arab Emirates, is signaling something much bigger than an oil policy disagreement? What if this is the beginning of a Gulf realignment that will alter energy markets, shipping, insurance, and the strategic balance of power? So let's examine that, the UAE breakaway moment, as we'll call it, and what it'll mean for the future of world energy as we see it. For many observers, recent moves by Abu Dhabi look technical. You have production flexibility issues, independent market positioning, a little distance from cartel discipline. But under the surface, something larger may be happening. The UAE increasingly looks less like a traditional Gulf monarchy and more like a modern strategic city state, a hybrid of maritime power, logistics hub, sovereign wealth engine, and global commercial gateway. And that is what Abu Dhabi and Dubai have built. They have built massive ports, global aviation hubs, through the airline services and the cargo services associated, financial service networks. Who hasn't heard of Dubai at this point and doing business in Dubai? Really, if you believe it or don't believe it, it's out there every day. You have technology investment platforms. They're looking somehow to get involved in AI, which God knows how they're going to do that. Shipping infrastructure, as we said, it is not an oil state, it is an energy statecraft state. And that distinction matters. And Sheikh Mohammed doesn't get, I think, enough credit for what he did in developing this. At the same time, the Gulf has watched a hard lesson unfold in real time. For nearly half a century, Iran has represented revolutionary ideology fused with state power. And the result has been sanctions, isolation, proxy warfare, maritime threat, blowing up of buses, killing of widows, everybody hating Arabs, stuff like that, economic distortion, regional instability. From Abu Dhabi to Riyadh to Doha, leaders see that model, and many appear to be drawing a conclusion, which is that ideology is pretty expensive. Permanent confrontation is draining capital. Religious zeal in statecraft creates strategic rigidity. That's one of the major lessons that they've learned. Markets don't want to play with these people. Talent goes elsewhere, right? Infrastructure suffers. The Gulf monarchies are not becoming anti-religious. I'm not saying that they are going away from it, but they are becoming more technocratic and commercial and pragmatic. They are not out there chopping heads as they were 10, 20 years ago. They do not want to openly sponsor state terrorism as they did 10 years ago. Okay. Then comes the next signal on this, which is Qatar is strengthening security ties with Pakistan. And that is important as well because it suggests the Gulf states are diversifying security architecture beyond traditional assumptions. We are not being replaced in the United States, but they are building a redundancy. If you have not noticed or have heard about it, Qatar had an outstanding debt with Pakistan to the tune of, I think, $2 or $3 billion. So they resolved the debt by allowing Pakistan's military to operate in bases that are owned by the Qataris within Qatar. There are your boots on the ground. Okay. They are now pretty much bought a mercenary force of Pakistani troops who are not bad compared to the other boys in the area, right? So they are building redundancy there. They are getting a backup power structure. There are alternative military relationships which are bolstering their ability to stay in power. We'll say parallel strategic operations or parallel strategic options is more like it. I'm sorry. And when nations start building parallel systems, they are preparing for a world where the old system may not be enough to cover them. And that is what is a major point of contention amongst the globe right now. And that changes global energy because in the next era, energy power may longer be defined by who owns oil. It may be defined by who's running the routes, who's protecting the routes, who finances, who insures, who controls maritime corridors, logistics, and guarantees delivery. And that is a much bigger contest than oil production quotas. And the deeper question is the UAE simply asserting independence, or is it quietly competing for influence with Saudi Arabia? Not necessarily from the crown. Saudi remains a demographic, spiritual, and energy heavyweight. They have Mecca and Medina, things like that. But perhaps there's something just as powerful, which is veto power over Gulf strategy, the ability to shape outcomes, to block consensus, to create new alliances. They are not blind that President Trump has spent a good deal of time propping up Mohammed bin Salman, who was pretty much the king of Saudi Arabia. Don't get me in trouble on that one. But they see which way the wind is blowing, which is Saudi Arabia reigns supreme. And maybe UAE is like, we are just as viable. Let's go our own way on this. And we'll just all agree on certain security or whatever, because they are also, we're going to be working in the framework of the Abraham Accords within the next year. You always have to picture that's in the back. So, the oil power for decades has been defined in the Gulf. And tomorrow it could be the rest of those corridors, the access, the who runs the Amazons, the UPSs, the FedExes of the world, and who guarantees the delivery of your products. And that is going to be the next big step in the energy situation. People are going to say, well, we're going to build nuclear power, blah. That's fine. While you're building it, you still need oil and gas. And all the other developing countries would love to have oil and gas. So whoever is going to control the power corridors, the supply corridors, is going to really be the big shot caller in the future. So that's what I have for you for this. Take a look at it yourself. There's a lot going on. Arab politics is incredibly involved. This is just skimming the top, as we say, but you'll get the idea. So that's about all for now. Have a good day and talk to you later on.